This is a winch operation video for the AGO DBW3 electric winch designed to recover sonobuoys with 4 kilometers of 1/8 inch fiber rope. The winch's special features include a wired remote controller with a slow mode for buoy deployment and a fast mode for buoy recovery at the end of an operation, a cable payout and line speed measurement system with serial output to a computer, mounting points for our light-duty collapsible winch-mounted boom assembly, and a special instrumented sheave that automatically stops the winch when triggered by one of the buoys during recovery. Once the winch is fastened securely in place at your site, you're going to set up its collapsible boom and buoy detector, terminate the free end of the rope, and connect its cables. Setting up the boom assembly requires a 3/16 inch hex key, a 7/16 inch wrench, and possibly some silicone grease lubricant. First, remove the screws from the tube plugs on the winch. Then, fit the tubes of the bottom half of the assembly onto the tube plugs mounted to the winch. Fasten the tubes in place with the screws and tighten the screws with the 3/16 inch hex wrench. Next, remove the screws from the intermediate tube plugs. Align the tubes of the top half of the assembly with the intermediate tube plugs and slide the two halves together. You might need to use a little lubricant on the intermediate tube plugs, or slightly loosen the crossbar bolts with your 7/16 inch wrench to prevent binding. Fasten the top half in place with the screws, and tighten the crossbar bolts if you loosened them. Finally, connect the chains between the winch eye bolts and the boom eye bolts using the quick links. Adjust the chains so they have about the same tension and the boom isn't wonky. Close all the quick links. You will need a 9/16 inch wrench or socket wrench. Face the winch and loosen the bolt at the top right of the boom assembly to make space on the top crossbar. Remove the 2 bolts on the right side of the sheave support to open it. Scoot the sheave support rods out of the right side plate and rotate them up. Slide the buoy detector system ring over the bottom rod. Reassemble the sheave support and tighten the bolts. Tighten the boom's top crossbar bolt. Finally, route the buoy detector system's cable back to the winch electronics through the cable guides along the boom and winch. Plug the buoy detector system's cable into the buoy detect port. Finish by securing the buoy detector system to the crossbar using a bungee cord. The buoy detector system does not need to be plugged in all the time. It can be unplugged when not needed to avoid accidental interruptions to operations. Once the boom and the buoy detector system are set up, feed the free end of the rope through the level wind rollers and over the buoy detector sheave. Then you can terminate it however you like. Plug the winch's power cable into a matching outlet. Check that the encoder is plugged into the electronics box. Plug the winch's wired remote controller into the mating connector on the black electrical box. If you want to connect the winch to a computer to read the cable payout data, plug the serial cable into the data out port. Before using the winch, familiarize yourself with its main features. Here's a list. Pause the video and try to find them all on the winch yourself before continuing. Here's the dog clutch, the manual brake, the drum pin lock, and finally the manual backup handle. Push the dog clutch in to engage the drivetrain for powered winching. Retract the locking pin and pull the dog clutch handle out to disengage it. Remember to flip the locking pin back in place afterwards. Now you can spin the drum freely. When the dog clutch is disengaged, you can use the drum's pin lock as a hard stop to hold the drum in place. Adjust the drum position until one of the holes on the brake disc lines up with the pin lock hole and insert the pin. Do not drive the winch with the pin lock inserted. If you want to hand crank the winch, disengage the dog clutch and insert the crank handle into the drum axle. Do not leave the crank handle in the axle when you're not actively hand cranking. During hand cranking and freewheeling, you can use the manual brake to help control the winch's speed or stop it. Do safety checks before using the winch with power. Make sure the area around the line and payload are clear. Make sure the line isn't caught or looped on anything. Make sure that the drum pin lock and hand crank are removed. Make sure the winch's speed knob is turned to 0. Then turn the winch on and get ready for operations. Check that the winch is plugged in and all the required cables are plugged into the electronics. Turn the main disconnect switch to the on position. The PLC will boot up. Flick the winch's on-off switch to the on position. The motor controller is now powered and it should show a yellow light. Now you can operate the winch. Make sure all the emergency stop buttons are up and the dog clutch is engaged. Make sure the winch's speed knob is turned to 0. When you are ready to begin, flick the winch's start-stop switch to start. The winch's motor is now powered and the motor controller should show a green light. When you want to make the winch go, switch to your desired speed mode on the winch controller. Toggle the winch direction to pay out or pay in, and then start driving the winch by turning the speed knob. When you want to change directions, turn the speed knob to 0, switch the payout direction, and then resume driving the winch. When you want to stop the winch, you can press the emergency stop button in an emergency. In a non-emergency, turn the speed knob to 0 and flick the winch's direction switch to the middle position. Always remember to turn the speed knob back to 0 before changing directions or starting the winch after a stop. When the buoy detector system is plugged into the winch, it will automatically stop the winch when loads on the line like a buoy depress the trigger arm. When the buoy detector system has been triggered, remove the buoy, make sure crew are clear of the line, and flick the start switch on the winch to resume winching. The buoy detector system works best if the winch is only driven at up to about 70% of top speed. At faster speeds, the buoy clip can travel into the sheave a little bit before the winch comes to a complete stop. This shouldn't damage anything, but it's mostly just inconvenient. Keep in mind that this boom is not designed to support significant sideways loading. Make sure you set up your winch so that the line is aligned with the winch during operations. The PLC on the winch displays the line speed and amount of cable paid out. If you want to change the display units, you can press the F4 button to access the menu. Press the Winch Parameters touchscreen button. Press the F1 button until the desired units are shown, and press the Home touchscreen button to return to the main display screen. If you also want to read the cable payout data on a computer, you can connect the special serial cable to the data output port on the winch. You will need to have a serial terminal program such as Terminating installed on the computer that will be connected to the winch to read the winch's data. The winch's manual comes with supplementary instructions that cover how to set up Terminating. This winch has already been set up and calibrated for use with the 4,000 meters of 1/8 inch fiber rope that's installed on it. It should read about 0 meters of cable paid out when the cable is completely on the drum. If it doesn't quite read 0 meters after recovering all your rope at the end of an operation, you can zero it by pressing the F1 offset button on the PLC. That's all for the DBW3 electric winch basic operation guide. Review the winch's manual for full use, safety, and maintenance procedures, and contact AGO Environmental Electronics for help or questions.